So the last couple of days or so has been pretty predictable. Here's a word of advice. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel like you want to put yourself out there, become a content creator, and do something as harmless as share your opinions on movies. Just know that some movies are considered to be above criticism in some people's eyes. Now, I don't say that to deter anyone from sharing their opinion. In fact, I think it should make you want to share your opinion even more. I just think you should prepare yourself for the onslaught of bitterness and cope that you will inevitably receive if you decide to criticize one of these movies that the internet has deemed untouchable. In fact, if a movie has a decent Rotten Tomatoes score, or any level of positive reviews on YouTube for it, apparently it's best if you just not share your criticisms at all. Because if there's one thing that a fanboy does not want to hear, it's a different perspective. And since about 2011, Marvel fanboys are the biggest perpetrators of that, and apparently it's going to continue with the Thunderbolts. Let's discuss. Our content sucks. Our content sucks.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Well, it turns out that when the fanboys said that we are so back, or that Marvel movies are back, they weren't talking about the films themselves. They were actually talking about their narrow-minded perspective on the entirety of the MCU. What makes this whole conversation interesting to me is that just days after I publicly criticized Thunderbolts and caught for it, we literally have a Wall Street Journal article come out detailing how Kevin Feige himself has acknowledged that Marvel content feels more like homework than it does entertainment. He acknowledged that employees at Marvel Studios talk regularly about Marvel fatigue, and they worry that they are driving new viewers away with their current content. It also talks about how Kevin Feige has recognized the error of his ways with recent Marvel content, and he's leading a brand new creative overhaul that will focus on quality over quantity. A plan that will feature less Disney Plus shows and more focus on theatrical films. The funny part about all of that is this is all things that I have personally criticized in the past, and so have many other people. So can someone please explain to me why I am considered a hater when the literal head of Marvel Studios is coming out and saying that changes need to be made?
Man, I'm tired of being right.
Here's a question. Do you think he would even be aware of the issues that Marvel has if he went off the word of fanboys who are consistently telling him that everything is fine, who are consistently telling me that everything is fine? Everything is not fine, and the dwindling interest in your brand is a clear-cut sign of that, and we have numbers to back that up. The reality is Marvel movies are not doing the numbers that they once did. People are not still showing up no matter what to watch every piece of Marvel content that comes out. People are being more selective about the Marvel content that they consume. And I do believe that is very much the result of Marvel refusing to evolve post-Endgame. They simply continue to make content the same way that they always did, only with less effort and using less recognizable characters to lead the charge.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
The quality of the product has dipped. General audiences know it. Kevin Feige himself knows it. And the fanboys know it as well, even if they don't want to admit it. You see, they'd rather deflect and call someone a hater than accept the reality of the situation. Which brings me back to the Thunderbolts and this whole Marvel is back conversation. Now, I don't know if Thunderbolts is supposed to be post Feige's new plan, or if it was already in motion prior to him making changes. But based on what I saw this past weekend, based on my perspective, which is all I can really go on, I didn't really see much of a difference between Thunderbolts and the content that they were making prior to that. Now, some of you may disagree with that, and that's fine. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. But I do find it a little bit hard to believe that Marvel is simply just going to flick a switch one day and everything is just going to go back to normal. I think good content is something that they're going to have to build towards, and it's definitely not going to happen overnight.
That makes sense.
When Kevin Feige himself talks about a creative overhaul, I don't think some people realize how much of an overhaul Marvel actually needs. On the surface level, were there things in Thunderbolts that would be considered an improvement over more recent content? Sure. But a lot of the problems that plague most MCU films still persist. I even saw some positive reviews for Thunderbolts talking about how those old Marvel tropes are still alive and well. It's just a matter of whether or not something like that is pleasing to you as a viewer. It is to some people, but it's not to me. Because I'm personally looking for something that is a complete departure from what they normally do. Not just altering a couple of things, but keeping the general formula intact and then trying to pass it off as something fresh. That's not fresh to me. And regardless of what some critics and what some internet personalities might be telling you, I think the general audience is looking for something different as well.
It's true.
Which is exactly why box office numbers aren't what they used to be when it comes to the MCU. Now, if you look at how the media reports on the box office numbers for Thunderbolts, you would think that everything is fine. But if you choose to ask some questions and dig a little bit deeper, I think you will find that this is a much bleaker situation than some people are letting on. The Hollywood Reporter says that Thunderbolts flies to a solid $76 million opening domestically. Elsewhere, Discussing Film is reporting on worldwide box office numbers because those sound a lot more impressive, saying that Thunderbolts opens with $162.1 million worldwide. And once again, similar to Brave New World, proclaiming that the budget is $180 million. Now, a less informed person will hear those numbers and say, well, they almost made back their budget in the first week, a massive W for Marvel.
Bullshit.
But some of us know the truth, don't we? I love how outlets now conveniently only report on production budgets as a way of protecting Marvel and telling fanboys what they want to hear. But as my good man, the Wolfman, always points out, this is conveniently not factoring in the marketing budget, as well as the fact that the studio only receives about 50% of box office revenue, so in reality this movie would need to make close to $600 million approximately just to break even. And other unbiased box office analysts are reporting something similar.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Now, does anyone really think that Thunderbolts is going to put up those kinds of numbers? Especially with the inevitable second week drop-off looming. I don't mean to rain on anyone's parade, but Marvel is still producing films as if they are releasing them when they were in their prime and breaking box office records. And we just aren't there anymore, and they desperately need to adjust their strategy accordingly. I know the truth is hard to hear sometimes. I know people thinking for themselves is considered a bummer by some. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and Marvel in reality has a long way to go if they are going to put out all of these little fires that they themselves created.
Y'all be cool. Got on.